I'm Cynthia Terry, president of SHABACH Ministries. SHABACH Ministries has a career services arm, and in career services, we have a mission and vision to help people be well developed to pursue the career of their dreams, what they're created to do. So, this is the first in a series of monthly professional development programming that is designed to help you achieve just those goals. Pursue and achieve the career that you were created to be in. So today we're starting off with a very special presentation. The presentation will be brought to us by Dr. Elise Barnes. And Dr. Barnes will be presiding or presenting the Your LinkedIn Driving Instruction. I think that her business is actually called Of a Certain Vintage Workshop Education, LLC. Dr. Barnes?
I'm glad to be here. And it's wonderful. I am honored to be the first in this series of presentations for your employment career ministry. So I'm thrilled to be your kickoff speaker.
We are so excited to have you here. I have heard great things about you and how you have just really spent your life in helping to develop others. And that's what we want to do here today. I think that starting with LinkedIn is a wonderful way for people to get a sneak peek into the various ways that you can find opportunities. But not only that, I know that you have presentations that you've done that are generational, so that someone that may be 55 plus or someone maybe who is just getting started can still feel included in being able to achieve their goals to advance.
Yes, the principles that I'm going to present today are not age related at all. I do focus on older job seekers because we're not digital natives. We're not used to putting information online, and we have some legitimate online privacy and security concerns that need to be addressed in a way that our younger counterparts who are digital natives, they don't feel that's necessary.
Mm.
But in terms of the basic principles of how to use LinkedIn, those are true regardless of age. So even though I have a specific focus with respect to my teaching to address older job seekers, the principles are the same, whether you're starting out your career, whether you are in a career transition, whether you're an older job seeker, whether you're pursuing a nonprofit leadership or pursuing encore entrepreneurship. All of the principles
Yes.
that I'm going to present today are the same.
Excellent. Excellent. I have my own questions. I'll probably pop in as you're
Yeah.
doing your presentation with the kinds of questions that I have. But I did want to start off by letting you know that my 22-year-old graduated in May and started having little 15-minute interviews on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
It was blowing my mind. Not only did he do interviews for an internship, but they went so well that the organization, which at the time was the White House, offered him a job. So
Oh,
he worked there
congratulations.
for several months now that, he is then now he's pursuing it all over again. But to see that you can actually pursue your dream and achieve it by using LinkedIn,
Absolutely.
amazing.
LinkedIn is such a powerful tool, and that's why I really try to get people to embrace it. But one of the upcoming slides, you'll see the demographics of LinkedIn and who uses it and who doesn't.
Okay.
And it's really, like I said, such a powerful tool in so many ways that, I mean, I just want to make sure that people really grasp
Yes.
what it is. One of the career development programs I'll talk about is the Career Gateway program, which our mutual friend Diane Taylor graduated from. I also graduated from it back in 2016. She's a more recent graduate. And a recruiter came and did a presentation on LinkedIn. And this is before I started my business. This was actually the impetus for me starting my business. And I saw some of the other job seekers who, and we were all 50 and better, when she was talking about it, I saw them kind of turn off, that it was too much information coming at them too fast. And I had the opposite reaction was, oh my God, this thing is so powerful. This is a database of information that you have access to for free of now literally 1 billion people all over the
Wow.
world. LinkedIn is in 200 countries in 26 languages, and it is a database at your fingertips to find the people who can help you find your dream job.
That is amazing. And I love when you say 50 or better. I
Yes,
love, I like that part. So you can be
yes,
50 or younger or 50 or better. I like that. I like
yes,
that.
yes,
I'm
yes.
stealing that one.
Okay, okay.
So if we could, let's get started.
Let's
Let's
get
just get,
started.
yeah.
Okay. And again, please feel free. I look at this as a dialogue, as a conversation.
Hmm.
And I'm sure the questions you have, other people would have as well. So feel free at any point to stop me on a particular slide and say, hey, can we talk about this or that? I'm totally open to that.
Excellent.
All right. So let's get started. Okay. Let me hide the floating controls. All right. So our first slide is why LinkedIn is the job seeker's best networking tool. First of all, this is where recruiters and hiring managers are looking for candidates and for information about candidates. They are actually taught to use LinkedIn to find people. And that's where they expect you to be. I have heard hiring managers say that even if they have your resume, they're going to look for a LinkedIn profile to get additional information about you. And if you do not have a LinkedIn profile, that's a reason for them not to consider you a serious job seeker and perhaps weed you out, right?
Mm.
Also, this is where people with jobs are, right? There are lots of people on LinkedIn who have jobs, right? Also, you can develop relationships online with people that you might never meet in person. Because as I said, this is in 200 countries and in 26 languages. So it's a global platform. And you can begin these conversations before you have to meet the person in person or have an opportunity to meet them in person. And that is something for my introverts. They're like, oh, I'm an introvert. I'm like, yeah, but this is great for you because you're not having to think of icebreakers or try to come up with something to say while the person is staring at you. You can send them an email or send them a message and they message you back and you begin the conversation online so that you can then use that as a basis for a Zoom meeting or for an in-person meeting, but you've already developed a bit of a relationship online first. Also, you can promote your strengths and minimize your weaknesses on LinkedIn, right? Because you're creating your profile from scratch. So it only knows what you put on it, right? And then you can put your skills in front of people in a way that they can access that information 24/7. They don't have to know, you don't have to pick up the phone, you don't have to know the URL to their website. They can just go on LinkedIn, whether it's 3 p.m. or 3 a.m., and that profile is right there with the information that they're looking for. And it also gives you an opportunity, and I think this is real important, to give before you get
Mm.
because I believe that givers get. And so there's always something you can give on LinkedIn. When you're connected to people, you can give them endorsements for their skills. You can write recommendations for them. You can like something they post or comment on it. So there are many, many ways you can share your expertise. So there are many, many ways you can give on LinkedIn before you then have to ask or want to ask for assistance. You can give first before you get. Okay. All right, so I just actually previewed this next slide, which is one of the things that you can give on LinkedIn, even if you don't have a job, right? So if you have expertise or skills in something, you can share that in a post. And it doesn't always have to be original content. Maybe you went to a great webinar that you want to share. I say there's so much crappy information out there. Pointing people in the direction of what is good is a great way to be a value add to your network. to say, hey, I attended this great webinar, or I saw this great presentation, or this great video, or there's an important deadline coming up, or an important conference coming up. That's really valuable. People appreciate
Good.
that.
Mhm.
You can introduce people. I meet people all the time and I say, wow, based on your interest, you should meet my friend so and so. Let me introduce you. So your networks, they don't go away just because you don't have a job right now. You're still connected to the people you're connected to. So you can introduce people and they will do the same for you, right? Once you start introducing people, they say, hey, well, let me introduce you to my friend who also works in this field and might be helpful to you. You can also share your influence. So, for example, if someone posts something, um, it only their post will only appear on the feed of the people that they're connected to. So, say you have 51 connections and you post something on LinkedIn, it will only appear on the feed of those 51 people. But if I am one of those 51 people and I like it or comment on it or share it, it now appears on the feed of the over 5,000 people that I'm connected to.
Wow.
So I have turned your little, pebble in a pond into a tidal wave,
Mm.
right? So you can do that for other people. That helps people. And whenever I post something and people like it or comment on it, I thank them. I write them back on LinkedIn and say, thank you so much for liking my post because they have helped get my post in front of people that I don't know. And then you can offer support to your connections by endorsing them for their skills or writing recommendations for them. Or you can just offer them a smile. I appreciate it when people acknowledge my birthday. LinkedIn prompts you to engage with your network by notifying you when they get a promotion or they get a new job or they get a work, have a work anniversary or it's their birthday. And I really appreciate it when people wish me a happy birthday, especially if they don't just click the happy birthday button, but they personalize it in some way. They add my name and take just 5 or 10 seconds to add a personal message. If they do that, then they get a personal response back from me. And that's a great way to stay on people's radar screen without asking for anything. Because we all have people in our lives who, whenever we see their number on our phone, we know it's because they want something. They want to borrow some money, or they want to get you involved in their latest business venture, or they just want to vent for 2 hours. And we don't like answering the phone calls of those people, right? So instead, we can be the person who pops up on their radar screen wishing them a happy birthday or a work anniversary, happy work anniversary, so that when we do reach out for them with a request, that isn't the only time they've heard from us, right?
Good.
So, so again,
Mhm.
my philosophy is givers get. If you give, you get in return.
So, quick question.
Yes.
Is there a certain etiquette to things like invitations, introductions, or stuff like that? Or will you be going deeper into that as we move forward?
That's a question that comes up a lot. And I'm not sure that I have a slide that addresses that, but here's my philosophy on that. Um, my philosophy is try to say yes unless there's a reason to say no. If someone invites you to connect and you don't immediately know who they are, then go to their profile and see if there's some connection, like you have 150 mutual connections. If I see that, I'm like, I'm surprised I haven't met this person yet, because clearly we run in the same circles, right? Or maybe you went to the same school, or maybe you worked at the same place but just at different times. Or maybe you have shared interests. So there are lots of reasons to say yes, but maybe they're in a country in the former Soviet Union that you've never been to. That's probably a reason to say no, right?
Mhm.
But I want people to err on the side of saying yes because the people who are closest to us tend to have the same information we do.
Okay.
So usually, and LinkedIn actually did a 5-year study which validated a sociological theory called the value of weak connections. And what they did was recommend that a certain subset of LinkedIn users recommend that they connect with people that they had 10 or fewer mutual connections with. And then the other subset group, they recommended that they connect with people that they had 20 or more mutual connections with. And then they went back a year later to see if those people who were and the subset were all people who were unemployed. They went back a year later to see what happened, and the people that they had recommended they reach out to people that they didn't have as many mutual connections with, twice as many of those were now working at companies where of the people that they didn't have the connections, as many mutual connections, but they reached out to them.
Outstanding.
So again, that power of acquaintances, I think we underestimate who can and will help us. We think it's somebody that has to have a long, deep relationship with us, and it's really not true. People get joy out of helping people. And so, but they need to know what it is you're looking for and what it is you offer to a potential employer. If I don't know that, I can't help you,
Yeah.
right? So that's where your profile is so important, but to be able to communicate that information so that I can get that information whenever I need it. I don't have to call you, I don't have to email you. I can see that whenever, get that information whenever I need it. So if something comes across my desk, I literally just have to hit forward on an email. I don't have to get an envelope, lick a stamp, play telephone tag with you. I can literally just hit forward on the email about the job
Mhm.
and help you with that information.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Right. So here are some of the biggest misconceptions about LinkedIn, that it's just a resume and a photo, that it's only about employers finding and connecting with you, or that all you have to do is create the quote unquote perfect profile with all the right keywords, and recruiters are suddenly going to be knocking down your door. And the people that are LinkedIn skeptics who tell me, oh, I don't think LinkedIn really works, it's usually because they have these misconceptions. It's like, yeah, I put up a profile and nothing happened. And I'm like, well, that's just step one, right? Just putting up a profile is not going to get you anything because frankly, there are over 1 billion with a B
Wow.
members on LinkedIn. It is the largest professional social networking platform in the world. So just having a profile that says I'm a graphic designer, it's like you and 200,000 other people. Okay. Okay. Or just having a headline, which is that text right under your name that says actively seeking new opportunities. I have no idea your industry. I have no idea your skill set. Basically, all you've told me is you're unemployed.
Right.
That's not enough information to help you. I don't know enough about you, right, to be able to assist you. So that headline is so important, and I'll talk about that a little bit more because it literally follows you all over LinkedIn. So as I mentioned, LinkedIn has members from over 200 countries. It's available in 26 languages. The United States has the largest LinkedIn user base with 214 million members, which accounts for about 77% of the total US population over the age of 18. So a whole lot of folks are
Wow.
on LinkedIn. 30% of adults in the United States use LinkedIn, which is about the same as TikTok. And everybody talks about TikTok, but they don't talk about LinkedIn, right?
Mhm.
Which is used by 33%. So TikTok is used by 33%, LinkedIn 30%. Okay. And it has 67 million company pages and 134,000 school pages. So again, a lot of information right there at your fingertips.
Right.
All right, so here's a little bit about the demographics. 30% of LinkedIn users have master's or doctorate degrees, and another third have at least a bachelor's degree. So it's largely for professionals, white collar, pink collar, you know, people generally who have um, at least some college. Okay. It is 47% of the members are millennials. And then Gen X represents 29%, Gen Z represents 15%, and baby boomers are dead last at 10%. Okay, so we have some room to grow as baby boomers to get on LinkedIn and use it. Um, Pew Research found that 53% of survey respondents earning over 100,000 use LinkedIn. 34% of people earning 70 to 99,000 use LinkedIn. 19% of people earning from 30,000 to 69,000 use it. And then only 13% of people earning under 30,000 use LinkedIn. 31% of LinkedIn users live in urban areas, 36 live in the suburbs, and 18% live in rural areas.
Mm.
So that's sort of the basic demographics
Right, right.
of LinkedIn to give you a sense of who the users are.
A couple of quick questions. You said
Yes.
pink collar. That's new to me. What's pink collar?
Those are generally jobs that women fill, administrative,
Oh,
office
okay.
type
Okay.
positions. Hmm.
Wow. I've been out too long. The other, the the other thing is Gen X and millennials.
Hmm.
Do you find that they are vastly different in the kinds of jobs that they're going after? Because sometimes people sort of mesh them together. No?
I'm not so sure that there's a big difference in terms of the jobs that they're going after. I find more of a difference with the younger folks is how they use LinkedIn in the sense of what they put on LinkedIn that maybe those of us who are older would not, right?
Oh,
That personal information is a part of their brand. Whereas for us, we're like not putting anything personal. And that is sort of the difference between LinkedIn, say, versus a TikTok or an Instagram. We're really not interested in your personal life. We don't care where you went on vacation. We don't want to see pictures of your children.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we just want to know about you as a professional.
Right, right.
We really have no interest in where what you're having for dinner,
Mhm.
where you're shopping. Don't know, don't care.
Yeah,
It's really we want the culture of LinkedIn to stay professional.
right.
And you will often find that people who violate that in the comments, people will say, "Can we not do this here? Can we not talk about politics here? Can
Hmm.
we not talk about religion here, frankly? We just want to do business. We don't want to argue. We
Right.
just want to keep it professional."
There's another platform for that.
There's other platforms for that. There's
Mhm.
Twitter for
Mhm.
that. There's
Yeah.
Facebook for
Hmm.
that. We're just
Hmm.
here to do business.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right. So, success on LinkedIn is really about building relationships. It's not transactional, it's relational, right?
Mhm.
Because what you're really, I mean, there are, LinkedIn does have a job board, but it's so much more than that. It's not just a job board. Job boards are very transactional. Here's the job, here's how you apply. But LinkedIn that is a small piece of it. The rest of it is about building relationships so that you can get the information that's not in the job announcement, the information that you can only get from another human being, right? So, and information that they would never put in a job announcement. Like we've had a lot of turnover here because the director is toxic, right? That's never going to be in the job announcement. But you could get that from another person who's worked there over coffee or somebody who
Right.
used to work there.
Yeah.
If you've developed a relationship with them, especially they wouldn't put that in writing, but after they've developed a comfort level with you, and then they'll have that Zoom conversation with you, that Zoom virtual coffee, and they'll say, I've heard we're about to be acquired by another company, which
Mm.
means that all the middle management, they're going to get wiped out. I mean, that's never going to be in the job announcement, but that's the
Yeah.
kind of information you really need to know.
Yes.
So that's the real purpose of LinkedIn, getting that information, getting to connect with someone who can give
Mhm.
you the real skinny. So again, because I'm emphasizing relationships, I want to make sure that everyone understands what the relationships on LinkedIn mean. If you are a first degree connection to someone on LinkedIn, meaning you go to their profile and it says first next to their name, that means that either they've invited you to connect and you accept it, or you invited them to connect and they accept it. That's the only way you can become a first degree connection to someone. Once you do, though, that means you can send them messages using LinkedIn as basically an email server. It means that whatever they post is going to be on your feed unless you Go into settings and say, no, you block them and say, hey, no, I don't want what they post to be on my feed. It's automatically going to be on there. It means that you can see who they're connected to. So you can see their connections. You can endorse them for their skills. You can write recommendations for them. So all of these are privileges that go along with being a first degree connection to someone. But you have to be a first degree connection to do that.
Mm.
Second degree connections just mean that you're not connected to each other, but you have someone in common that you're both a first degree connection to. Again, you don't get all those privileges like being able to send them messages or, endorse them for their skills or write recommendations, but you do have someone in common that you are both a first degree connection to. And again, the only way to change from second to first would be you send them an invitation to connect and they accept or vice versa. Third degree connections are the second degree connections, right? So if you're a second degree connection to someone, their connections will then be third degree to you, right? Now, you can be connected tangentially to people by virtue of being in a group with them on LinkedIn. Now, that doesn't mean you're automatically a first degree connection to everyone in the group, but what it does mean is that if something is posted in the group, only the members of the group get notifications about it. And so, and that's a great thing if you're a job seeker joining groups, because if someone posts a job within the group, only the people in the group know about it, as
Mhm.
opposed to posting a job that's posted on the job tab on LinkedIn. Everybody knows about that job. All the, billion people have access to that job. But if somebody posts a job in a group, then it's possible that if they didn't put it on the main tab, that just only
Right.
that select group of people, which means you could be competing against a much smaller pool of people for that job. And then you can follow people. This doesn't mean you're connected to them. It just means that whatever they post is on your feed, right? So if you follow, Mark Cuban or Oprah Winfrey or Barack Obama, it just means that whatever he or she posts is on your feed, but you can't send them messages and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm. So the people who are involved there, they probably just through naturally figure out these degrees or levels because there's nothing that they don't have a Dr. Barnes explaining it all to them.
Well, YouTube is your friend. I
YouTube.
I am a big proponent of YouTube University, I call it, because there is a video for everything on YouTube.
That's true.
And I would filter for videos that are no more than a year old because I'm sorry, LinkedIn changes all the time. People ask me, "Do you also teach Instagram or Facebook?" I'm like, it is all I can do to keep up with the changes on LinkedIn. Every time I teach once a month in partnership with the Montgomery County Public Library, and I am having to update my slides all the time because LinkedIn is constantly changing.
Mm.
What started this was, so if you're going to look for videos on YouTube, I really wouldn't, if you have a question, you can type it into YouTube. How do I do this on LinkedIn? Or what does this mean on LinkedIn? I
Mhm.
would filter for videos that, are no more than 6 months to a year old, because otherwise the information may be incorrect.
Good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. And in fact, just a promo, I'm actually starting a YouTube channel where I'm going to be doing a lot of LinkedIn training and talking about LinkedIn. I have one video up, but there'll be more
Oh, good.
to help people with that as
And
well.
we get the exclusive because we're going to
Yes,
get the channel instead of,
yes, yes. So
okay.
I just took a course on how to do YouTube content, and I'm like, okay, all right. But anyway, people say it's essential to be on LinkedIn if you're a job seeker, but they don't often tell you why. They just say you got to be on this, and it's like, yeah, but what's the reason? And I think the reason is important to keep you motivated.
Hmm.
So LinkedIn allows you to tell your professional story and demonstrate your expertise 24/7, right? Because that information is always there, right? And 94% of recruiters use LinkedIn, 94%. of recruiters use LinkedIn, and many recruiters and hiring managers are under 45, so they do everything online. They expect everything to be online, right?
Mhm.
Also, it empowers you to target and research and connect with potential employers to bypass HR and the dreaded applicant tracking system, right? That is the thing. Most people, their applications get caught up in the applicant tracking system and it's never to be heard from again. So
Wow.
you can find the line manager on LinkedIn. You can find somebody who's not trying to weed you out and develop a relationship with them so that they will literally send your resume to HR and say, I've talked to this person, I know this person, we need to give them a serious look. That is going to exponentially increase your chances of getting that job. You can also use LinkedIn to find and recruit job search allies and stay on their radar screen without asking for anything. Because I say if the only person looking for a job for you is you, you're never going to find it. So you want to recruit other people to be engaged in this job search with you to keep their eyes open for opportunities for you. It empowers you to tap into the hidden job market. I'm going to talk about that next. It empowers you to target and research and connect with potential employers to identify employment opportunities. So, again, all of those 67 million company pages that I talked about, you
Mhm.
can follow them so that whatever those companies are, what they post appears on your feed, and you can then engage with what they post because somebody somewhere is monitoring their social media metrics. How many clicks, how many comments, somebody, whether it's internal to the company or external, is monitoring who's engaging with our content, right? So you can make yourself visible to them by engaging with their content on LinkedIn. Hiring managers are using LinkedIn as the bridge between the resume review and the interview. Again, I've got your resume. I'm trying to get some more information about you. I'm going to LinkedIn to find out additional information and see whether, okay, based on that, I want to interview you. Employers hire colleagues and coworkers, not resumes, right?
Mhm.
You're not working next to a resume, you're working next to a person. So
Mhm.
LinkedIn allows you to become someone a potential employer knows, likes, and trusts because you are connected to someone they know, like, and trust, right? If I see you're connected to my friend so-and-so, okay, I can reach out to them and say, hey, do you know Dr. Barnes? What do you know about her, right? And so then you are no longer a stranger. You are a friend of Dr. Terry. And now I know, okay, all right, I got it. I know who she is. I know who this person is. It empowers you to actively research the public face of potential employers so you can mimic their language and priorities back to them when you communicate with them, like in your cover letter
Mhm.
or in your interview. You can talk about their priorities, especially those priorities after five, which are so important. Yes, a lot of people can do the job, but, do they volunteer at schools? Do they clean
Mhm.
up roads? Do they volunteer for Habitat for Humanity? And if you do that too, you're communicating that you are all you it'll be easy to bring you onto the team. You already the important things that are important to them are also important to you, right? And that can be just the difference that takes you over the top in terms of getting the job versus all the other people who are also qualified for the job from 9 to 5. But we're not so sure they're going to be a good fit as a member of our team.
Mhm.
You're communicating, oh yeah, I'm all in, right? A successful job search is all about networking because if the only person looking for a job for you is you, you're never going to find it.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So I like to share success stories because
Mhm.
people, say, well, of course, LinkedIn works for you, Elise. You live in LinkedIn land. You're the LinkedIn driving instructor. So, okay. But what about regular people? What about normal people that don't spend their whole lives on LinkedIn? Does it work for us? So this is Annette's story. Annette attended a lunch and learn that I did for her university where she had just graduated from the master's program. And one of the things that I do to grow my network is when I do presentations, is I take a screenshot of the people who attend, and then I thank them for coming. I go on LinkedIn, I find them, and I send them a note saying, thank you for attending my presentation. I hope you got something out of it. Let's connect. So Annette was one of those people. And she wrote me back, and this is a message exchange that she gave me permission to share. This message exchange occurred in 2020, so May of 2020. So it was a couple months into the pandemic, right? So, and you'll see why I said that in a minute. So, I invited her to connect, and she wrote me, "Thank you so much for reaching out. I want to let you know that you gave me a lot to think about, reconsider, and modify on my page and how to use LinkedIn. I already used one of your tips and I said congratulations to a former colleague for his job anniversary. And he replied right away. At 3 p.m., we had a Zoom call. We've not seen each other in about 3 years, and it was wonderful to catch up. Not only that, but he offered to connect me to a few of his friends. Would this be the fastest results from one of your webinars?" And I
Wow.
wrote her back, "Annette, thanks for endorsing me," because she endorsed me for LinkedIn training. "And most of all, for that incredible story. It is awesome. You made my day. Yes, you get the prize for the fastest results. I'm going to use your story in my next webinar, and good on you for acting so quickly. I wish more people would. Keep up the good work. It pays off." So this is the message that she sent. So my webinar was from 12 to 1, and at 1:05, she wrote to her colleague Craig, "Hey Craig, congrats on your work anniversary." That's the part that LinkedIn automatically filled in for her. "Hey Craig, congrats on your work anniversary." And then she added, "How are things? I hope you and your family are doing well and staying safe." Again, we're 2 months into the pandemic, right? 5 minutes later, he wrote her back, "Hey, Annette, that's so funny. I was literally just thinking of you as we were heating up some Indian food, remembering our lunches. Doing well on this end, all things considered. How are you? Where are you now? My email is same cell as before. Let's catch up, Craig." And 2 hours later, they were. So again, people like, "Well, I haven't spoken to this person in a long time. Wouldn't it be weird?" No, they're wondering how you doing, where you been, what happened in the last 3 years, right? So he was very willing to talk to her, and now he's recommending people for her to talk to. And that's what you want. That's the point, right?
Right.
So now Craig is on Team Annette, and he's trying to figure out how to help her out, right?
That's
So
phenomenal.
yes, and again, she endorsed me for LinkedIn training. She'd seen the one training with me. Again, we think these people have to have these long, deep relationships with us before they will help us. She endorsed me having seen one hour presentation, and I got an endorsement out of it. So again, we really grossly underestimate who can and will help us. All right. So what are recruiters looking for when they come to your LinkedIn profile? I get this question a lot. One, they're looking for brevity because they are looking at lots of people and they are moving fast. So they don't have a lot of time for you to write like your whole life story. They're not going to read it. So in your about section, I really don't recommend more than a couple paragraphs, maybe three, when you're, filling in the about section of your LinkedIn profile. And then they want clarity, like can I figure out in basically 8 to 10 seconds what you do? What do
Mm.
you offer? Because it's not my job to figure it out for you. Because there are a billion other people on this platform. I can just swipe to the next one. I can just go to the next one. So being really clear about what it is you have to offer. And again, not just web designer, but what kind of web designer? Are there certain is there certain software that you specialize in? Do you do Wix or do you do WordPress or do you
Mhm.
do, some other graphics or something so that I know sort of what your specialty is? Because we live in a subject matter expert economy. So what do you do newsletters? I mean, what's your thing? What's your niche, right? And then your skills, your expertise, your area of expertise, where you are the best time management person ever, or something backwards and forward, that your skill set, you are the expert meeting planner, right? Whatever it is, right? Big conferences, small conferences, keeping people's calendars, whatever that might be. right? And then ultimately connections, because they want to be able to check you out with somebody else. Who are you connected to? Are you connected to a lot of people in your field? Or do you have lots of endorsements, lots of connections? And particularly recruiters want to see people have lots of connections because they may be reaching out to you about a position. And if it's not the right one for you, they're going to say, do you know anybody?
Oh, yeah.
And your ability to say, yeah, I do, that makes you eminently more valuable for them, and they will stay in touch with you as things come through because your network is so valuable to them. It extends their network. They have a big network, but if you have a big network too, you are eminently more valuable to them.
Wow.
All right. So resumes versus LinkedIn profile. Together, your resume and your LinkedIn profile present the 360-degree view of you as a professional. Okay. So here's the difference between a LinkedIn profile and a resume. Your resume is essentially a list of what you've done for your previous employers. If you kind of just boil it down to brass tacks of what it really is, it's a list of what you've done for your previous employers. It's backward looking. It
Mhm.
must be in the third person. It must account for every month of your life for the last 10 to 15 years. And God forbid you have gaps. Oh my God. The emphasis is on job titles because you're demonstrating your increased responsibilities. I went from a coordinator and then I became an intern and then I became a manager and then I became a director, so you're showing this progress, right? So it's very title driven. And then it's also filled with what I call resume speak, results oriented, mission driven, detail oriented, demonstrated history of all that stuff, right? Your LinkedIn profile, on the other hand, focuses on the expertise you offer to your next employer. You're speaking to your next employer who really doesn't care about your previous employer. They only want to know what's in it for me. What do I get? Right? I don't care about them. All I want to know is if I hire you, what do I get? Right? So it's forward facing, right? You're speaking to your next employer about what you can do for them, right? And it should be in the first person because you're telling your professional story, right? So you can say I and my, right? Because we know you wrote this. Your publicist didn't write this. This isn't a book jacket. So you're not fooling anybody by speaking in the third person, but you're also beginning that conversation that you hope will move to messages and then personal emails and then maybe a Zoom call and then actually maybe an in-person. So this is the start of that conversation. One of the other things too that LinkedIn differs is it should closely match your resume, but you have to remember that this is your online brand message. And so you don't want to confuse the viewer or the algorithm by including things that are off brand. So if you are an accountant, but right now you're working as a cashier at Target because you need to pay your mortgage, you can leave off the Target job, especially if you are doing accounting somewhere on a volunteer basis, right? You're using your accounting skills and you want to talk about that so that the LinkedIn algorithm and the LinkedIn viewer view you as an accountant, not a cashier, right? So if you are doing something, using your skills that you want to use for your next employer on a volunteer basis, which I do recommend, you can put that as your current position as long as you indicate that it's unpaid. So you're not misrepresenting that you're on staff. You're indicating that it's unpaid, but it gives you an opportunity to talk about the skills that you're using as opposed to creating a off-brand message about some other thing that confuses the algorithm, right?
Quick question.
Yes,
So you're not looking backwards,
that's right.
you're forward, positioning yourself. What validates what you say you can do?
Right. What you post, the groups you're in, what your recommenders say about you, the images you have on your profile. And I do think I included the slide about Carla. That's why LinkedIn is so great for career transitioners because you can create a whole narrative about what you offer that's completely different from your past
Ah.
because of what you post. Because I only know what you post, right? So if you were a banker, and this is
Mhm.
Carla's situation, she was a banker for 30 years. But when I met her, she was getting her associate's degree in interior design. And so she only posted about interior design. She only followed interior design companies. She only um, joined interior design groups. All of her skills matched those of an interior designer. And her classmates recommended her for those skills. All of her recommendations talked about her interior design skills. And so the algorithm said, oh, she's an interior designer, right? And so those are the kind of jobs we're going to show her. And those are the kinds of posts and the kinds of people we're going to recommend that she connect with. And then she attended webinars online on LinkedIn about interior design and connected with the other people who attended those as well and built up a whole community about interior design so that she had positioned herself as an interior designer.
Mm.
Again, that's something you can do on LinkedIn that you simply cannot do with a resume.
No, you can't.
It's just impossible, right?
Mhm.
But again, everything she posted was about interior design.
I feel like that's so important because you said that LinkedIn is more professional,
Yes.
but interior design is creative. So where do creative people have the opportunity to get their foot in the door if we're based on this professional kind of place for you to go and sort of position yourself?
Yes,
So
but she
that's
wanted a
a
job
great
as an interior
example.
designer,
Mm-hmm.
right? She wanted to work for a commercial interior design firm. She actually wasn't interested in residential, kitchens and baths. She wanted to, ergonomic furniture and offices and all of that kind of stuff. And again, she had a job with a commercial interior design firm before she graduated from her program.
Mm.
Yeah. She attached her portfolio so people could see her work. So she did everything to walk away from that 30-year career as a banker and to step into this new career as an interior designer. Again, something you can do with LinkedIn, very powerful. The emphasis on LinkedIn is on the skills that you bring because titles are not universal and they don't communicate the breadth and depth and scope of your expertise. So just by saying director at XYZ, I don't know, are you directing 3 people or 300 people? I don't know. You just said director, right?
Right.
Is your budget 40,000 or is it 40 million? I don't really know because all you gave me was a title, right? So it's very important that you use that headline to sort of communicate your level of expertise and what it is you're able to do. And your profile should be filled with what I call searchable specifics. And where you find those are in the job announcements of the jobs you're interested in. What are the key words that you keep seeing over and over again in the skills that they're looking for, in the expertise that they're looking for, in the requirements for the position? And this also may be a window into what you need to get to be more competitive if
Mm.
you are entering a new profession. Is there a particular software or a particular certification that you see over and over again in these job announcements that you don't have? That's a pretty good indication that you're going to need to get that to be competitive. All right. So basically, in other words, the focus of your resume is your past, where you've been, and the focus of your LinkedIn profile is your future, where you're going.
Mhm.
All right. So your headline is the equivalent of your 30-second elevator pitch. It's just online, right? Because it's only 220 characters, not 220 words, 220 characters. So that includes punctuation and spacing. So you really have to, pare it down and get it right because it follows you all over LinkedIn. If I know nothing else about you, if I type web designer into LinkedIn, it's going to show me thumbnails of people who have web design in their headline or as their skill set. And all it's going to show me is their headshot, their name, their headline, and their location. And based on that, I'm going to decide whether I'm going to come to their profile and see the rest. So that's why that headline is so, so very important. It's the first bit of information that I get about you that I'm going to decide then, okay, am I going to come to this person's profile and try to get more information or not? Right? So it needs to be more than just a job title. And it shouldn't be overly broad or generic or cliched, like, enthusiastic, energetic, self-motivated,
Mhm.
all that stuff that no recruiter ever types into a search box when they're looking for someone. If I'm looking for someone who can do Adobe Photoshop, that's what I'm going to type into the search box, right?
Right.
And so you need to have that on your profile multiple times, and certainly at least in your about section, maybe in your headline, so that you come up, right? Now, I am a huge fan of Clifton Strengths
Mm.
as a tool to figure out what your professional skill set is, what your professional strengths are, um, that you have, that you bring to any employer, no matter what the job title is. These are the strengths that I have, right? And so working that into your headline is a great way to sort of figure that out, because these are things that come so naturally to us. We don't think of them as skills, but they really are. They
They
make
are.
us unique, right?
Mhm.
And so because we've been doing it so long and because it comes so naturally to us, it's hard for us to describe it, right? And so LinkedIn, StrengthsFinder is really, it's called, they've been rebranded from StrengthsFinder to Clifton Strengths.
Yeah,
Um, but it gives you the vocabulary to talk about your professional strengths. So I'm a huge fan. Um,
I am too.
yes. So you want to promote your unique combination of skills. And again, Clifton Strengths gives you five, and those five are unique to you. There are lots of different strengths, but that unique combination of those five is
Mhm.
unique to you.
Mhm.
So you want to promote your unique combination of skills and your level. So again, what level are you? Are you entry level? Are you mid level? Are you director level? That kind of thing. And then you want to answer the question, why you in the headline? Why, out of all the web designers in the world, why would I choose you? Out of all the technical editors, out of all the program managers, why would I come to your profile, right? Given that there are a billion profiles on LinkedIn. So give the viewer a reason to read more, to come to your profile, and ultimately request your resume. That's what it's all about, right? That they are so excited about what they read on your profile, they're like going to reach out to you and say, "Hey, send me your resume. I think you're the perfect person."
So, could you give me an example of what someone would put in why you?
Yes, the why you. So for example, in my case, um, I have that I'm a LinkedIn trainer for folks who are 50 and better. So, right, if somebody's 50 and better and they're looking for a LinkedIn trainer, you know who they're going to recommend? Me, right? Because it's like, well, that's what she does. That's who she is. That's what she brings to the table, right? So, if you are and I've used web designer before, but if you are a web designer that particularly works with nonprofits in the environmental field or the child protective services field,
Right.
I'm going to come to you because you know what my community needs. Or maybe you're a web designer who specifically uses photography and integrates that into web designs. And if that I'm a photographer, or I need to communicate visually on my website, then I know you're the person who can do that job. You're not just any web designer. You're the one who has the counseling background that can help me figure out in my head, or I work with small businesses. I'm a web designer that particularly works with women-owned businesses or small businesses. So
Mhm.
you put a particular spin on it so that I say, I have to work with you because that's who I am and that's what I need.
That's really terrific and unique because most of the time they would say you're really canceling yourself out of a lot of different things because you're narrowing that particular field of interest.
Yes.
But what you're doing is broadening for that specific field of interest
Yes.
instead of being so broad that you could, miss that opportunity. That is really phenomenal. That's good.
Yes, and because we live in a subject matter expert economy, once you are positioned as a subject matter expert, people open up your market for you. So
Mm,
again, in my case, I'm very, very clear that my target is those who are 50 and better. But do you know
mhm.
how many university programs I have done presentations for 24-year-olds who are just graduating from grad school? And you know why they come to me? Because they're like, and they say, I know I'm not your market, but we want the expert. We
Yeah,
want the expert,
yeah.
right? And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm happy to do it, right? So once you position yourself as a subject matter expert, people will broaden your market for you because everybody wants the best.
And that's what the person that recommended you, Diane, she was saying,
Uh-huh.
I know there are a lot of other people, but I took this class and I'm telling you, okay, Diane, you got it. You got it. Yes.
Well, I hope she didn't oversell.
No, you're amazing.
Okay. All right. So here's Carla, the person I told you about who was in commercial banking for 30 years, got laid off. And her husband said, you know, you've been talking about this interior design thing ever since I met you. So I'll carry the bills for a couple years and you go pursue it. And so she did an associate's degree program. But we looked at her LinkedIn profile and we literally reduced her 30 years of commercial banking experience to one sentence because it was not relevant to what she wanted to do going forward. But of course, we had to account for her time. Like, where's she been? You know, she didn't spring up like a mushroom in 2016. Obviously she'd been doing something, right? So it's like, oh yeah, this is what she'd been doing, but it wasn't important. Everything else on her profile, her headline, her about section, her skills, her endorsements, her posts, her connections, her interests, her recommendations, her accomplishments, everything else was a pointed toward interior design. And she had her first job before she graduated. All right. So this is why LinkedIn is so great for career pivoting or reinvention. Many of us, we studied something, but now we want to be something else, right? You can craft and broadcast a skill-based message as opposed to an experience-based brand message, right? So again, what you post about, what you like, what you endorse, all of that, if it's pointed in this direction, that is what LinkedIn knows about you. That is what the LinkedIn community knows about you. So again, I worked at a defense contractor. I was a speechwriter for a politician. I was a dean of students at a graduate school program. None of that is relevant. What people know about me on LinkedIn is that I'm a LinkedIn trainer and I do workforce development for people who are 50 and better. Because that's all I ever talk about on LinkedIn. The other stuff doesn't matter. It's not important. It's not who I am now, right? And that's what LinkedIn shows to people again and again and again, 24/7. That's what the algorithm picks up. She does workforce development. She does career development for people who are 50 and better. She's a LinkedIn trainer, right? Because that's the message I keep reinforcing on social media about myself. And LinkedIn gives you access, free access to a database of great information about what these companies are saying about themselves. It may or may not be true, but that's what they're posting about themselves. So you can buy right into it. You can say, yes, you know, you are environmentally friendly and all that kind of stuff. Whether it's true or not, that's what they're trying to get us to believe, right? But it assists you in a putting the right message in your cover letter. And this is a step that a lot of job seekers don't take. They don't take that extra step to learn more about who they're applying to, right? It's all about them. And they need to spend more time figuring out who is this company and what's the problem they're trying to address by hiring me. And how are they presenting themselves to the world? Who's on their board of directors? What do they volunteer? All of those things so you can telegraph that you've done the homework and you're bought in and you want to work for them and only them. And you have spent all this time researching them. and learning about them because you want to work for them. It's not just a job. It's not just a paycheck. I want to be a part of your mission, your organization. And that's what, employers are attracted to. If I have a choice between the person who's passionate about our mission, our goals, our corporate culture, or our nonprofit culture versus the person who just views me as a paycheck, I'm going with the person who's all bought in, right? All right. So, LinkedIn career pivoting action steps you can take. You want to highlight and emphasize in your headline, in your about section, in your job description, those transferable skills that you want to offer to your next employer. So think about what the transferable skills, you may have been doing something else, but what can you take into this new situation, right? And again, use the job announcements to help guide you on what those transferable skills might be. You want to describe your previous positions in your experience section using the keywords that are relevant to your new industry. Now, you don't want to lie, but if there's a way you can cast it in the direction of the new job, so you're talking about what you're doing, but you're using their language, you want to try to do that to the degree that you can without crossing the line into line. You want to demonstrate your new expertise by posting about the things that relate only to the new skill set you want to use and the new industry you want to be in going forward. I mean, we've all done lots of things, but you want to edit it down to just the things that this new position would find useful, right? Um, and make the skills related to your new industry the top two in your skills section and have people endorse and recommend you for them in your recommendation section. So get some endorsements from other people. I say the skill endorsements I say are like stars on Amazon, right? We don't know where those stars came from, but I still don't want anything less than 4 stars, right? I just don't. It's just human nature. I don't want a 1-star product, right? So if you say you have these skills and nobody endorses you for these skills, I'm kind of wondering if you really have them. Again, recommendations are much more important where somebody actually wrote something that carries much more weight, but it helps to have some endorsements for your skills. And endorsements are so easy. You just go to the person's skills section and hit the endorse button. So it's easy. And I recommend, as a way to stay on people's radar screen, is endorsing them for their skills. So one of the things that I do on a regular basis when I, have made some new connections, I'll sort of go back at the end of the month, and if I've added 10 or 15 additional connections, then I'll go through and I'll just endorse them for their skills, and they say, oh, that was very nice. Thank you. And then they'll endorse me for mine or maybe not. And that's fine. I don't care. But it gives me an opportunity to give before I need to get,
Yeah.
right? And then you want to reinforce the new skill-based message with visual images as well, because we're human beings. A picture's worth 1,000 words. So you have the opportunity to put a image behind your headshot. That's called the banner. And you can put a image there that reinforces whatever your skill-based message is. And we had someone in the Career Gateway program who is a sous chef. And his banner image is this beautiful image of cut up onions and red peppers and green peppers and celery. And it's just beautiful. And it communicates the message of who he is and what his love of food and being a sous chef. Yeah. So it's really good.
That's good.
So I have 4 rules of the road for success on LinkedIn. And the first is plant your flag, which is you got to come down somewhere in some space, right? You've got to have a lane, accountant, or an industry, hospitality, or something, but you've got to plant your flag in something. You can't just be everything to everybody. You can't be a yoga with goats instructor, a spoken word poet, a program manager, and a shoe designer. If you put all that in your headline, then I have no idea what you are, and it seems like you don't either. So you really need to plant your flag somewhere. And then you want to focus on the top third of your profile, sort of like a newspaper. What's above the fold is the most important. When someone comes to your profile, basically what they're going to see is from the first 3 lines of the about section up. And then based on that, they're going to decide whether they're going to scroll down or not. But if
Mhm.
you don't catch their attention there, it doesn't matter what follows because they're never going to scroll down to see it anyway, right? So you really want to make sure that that top third communicates a lot of information and is attention grabbing and really intrigues the person to want to scroll down. And then you want to cast a broad net, meaning you want to connect with as many people as you can. Because if you're going to put in all this work to create these posts, you want more than 10 people to see it, right? You really want to make sure that if you're going to make the effort, that more people see it. But it also then makes it more likely that someone you're connected to will work at or have a connection at one of these companies that you want to work for. And that becomes much more likely the more connections that you have. And then finally, engage, like, comment, share, all of those things. I don't know if I have any Star Trek Next Generation fans, but whenever Picard wanted the Enterprise to move, he'd say engage, right? So you need to engage, right?
Mhm.
So I'm at my sort of final slides now, but I have three other wonderful resources. Again, they are targeted to people who are 50 and better. But they're great resources for people that are either low cost or free. One is the second Tuesday and Thursday of every month from 5:30 to 8 p.m. in partnership with the Montgomery County Public Library. I offer a free LinkedIn training. It's 5 hours of LinkedIn training because it meets on Tuesday and Thursday. Part one is on Tuesday, part two is on Thursday. Um, it's completely free. You don't have to live in Montgomery County. You don't have to have a library card. We've had people from as far away as from California take the class. All you have to do is register on the Montgomery County Public Library website. We do pitch it to 45 and older. We don't check people's ages, but what I find is that people who are younger who take it, they don't I spend time in settings in privacy because we have online privacy and security concerns. And then, the people who are younger are like, why are you spending time on this? It's like, well, because the people who are older won't use it unless they feel they have some control over the information that
Right.
goes out and what comes in.
Right.
So it's a different audience. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Jewish Council for the Aging offers a employment expo every month from 10 to 3. Again, it's for people who are 50 and better. It's completely free. It's online. We have 16 employers coming, and each of them gets 10 to 15 minutes to talk about their application process and their current openings. They are not allowed to come unless they have current openings. And then the Jewish Council for the Aging's Career Gateway Program for job seekers 50 and better, which I facilitate, which is a 2-week comprehensive career development intensive. We offer it 6 times between September and June. And it is the cost is $75, although we have scholarships. And what you get for that, it is really the best value in career development, and other programs charge a whole lot more for a whole lot less. So I feel so blessed to live where I live, where we do these kinds of things and that they're open to so many people. All of these are online. You don't have to live in Montgomery County to do register for any of them. They're available. Again, they're targeted toward a certain age group, but they're completely free of charge, and you do not have to live in Montgomery County. All right, that is my last slide. I'm happy to, use this time to do whatever. I can go to LinkedIn. I can, um, do whatever you need me to do. Okay. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
I was making so many comments while you were talking. I mean, so first of all, bravo, and thank you so much for some of the most valuable information I've ever heard in reference to LinkedIn and just the stories of people transitioning and your future is always bright. And you just keep moving forward, no matter what's happening and behind you, just keep moving forward. And I think that message was loud and clear all through your presentation. So thank you so much for that as well.
Mhm.
This particular presentation is pre-recorded.
Hmm.
So when it is shown on the last Saturday in January, people will have an opportunity to put questions in the chat. We'll capture those questions and get them to you, and then we will post the questions and the answers on our website. But we
Wonderful.
will let everyone know how they can get their questions to you and how we will get the information back to them. Is that
Wonderful.
good?
That sounds great. That sounds
That is
wonderful.
wonderful. Now, I will need a private consultation for my LinkedIn because I have a question. I have a question, and the younger people are probably going to fall out laughing because when I started LinkedIn, you know what? I don't even need to ask the question. All I need to do is go to YouTube and find out if you used a email address when you
Hmm.
set up
Hmm.
LinkedIn.
Yes.
That email address is no longer functional. However, you can still receive. I receive so much. I have people saying happy birthday and all kinds of things. And I can't get anything back to them because I can't use it to go back. So I do want to find out how to change an
Hmm.
old email
Email
address. And I
address.
will get a video for that because you
Yeah, and
just
it's
opened
very
the door to
simple.
that.
The trick you have to remember is you can't delete the old address until you put in a new one. So people try to go in
And
and
delete.
delete, but you have to have an email address. So it's very simple. Again, I say LinkedIn is not user friendly. It's not intuitive like Facebook is, but it's also not rocket science. But it really helps to get some training for a simple question like that. You can just get so frustrated when it's just a simple, you have to type in the new one
Hmm.
and make that primary, and then you delete the old one. Just that
Okay.
simple.
See you free at last, free at last. I'm free at last. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
You're so
Again, I
welcome.
we will be sending out information, letting everyone know when this will be available and the multiple ways that they can get in touch with us in doing it. Again, I like to thank you so, so much for your time and your expertise that you've shared with so many. And I also want to take a moment to let people know if you are 45 and better or 50 and better,
Better.
the fear factor that some people have in getting connected with something so valuable as LinkedIn, you really should look at the benefits which far outweigh if you
Absolutely.
can't break it. It's not, remember at one point in time you just unplugged that computer and started all over again. It was the wrong thing to do, but it worked.
Yes,
I
yes.
want that group, but I also want to start asking some of our younger people to hurry up and jump on board. And there are some lessons that they could probably learn in the type of professionalism and approach that
Hmm.
they would be able to use no matter what career path they choose.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, that fear factor, it's the benefits so outweigh.
Yeah.
And again, I talk about maybe establishing a email that is specifically for your job search.
Mhm.
Everything related to the job search goes to that email and that email only. So if it is, God forbid, hacked,
Mhm.
it's not all of your personal information. It's only the email address that you use for your job websites, for your LinkedIn account, for anything related to your job search. So, so that's one way of sort of separating
Yeah.
the rest of your stuff from the
Right.
job search, and you feel a little bit safer if, God forbid, something gets
Mhm.
hacked, right?
Yes, that's good.
Yeah,
That is
yes.
good. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Thank you so
I
much.
get a lot of these questions, and I've had to
Hmm.
think through, okay, how can I help people sort of again address that fear factor? I've had people ask me things like, do I have to put my social security number on there? Do I have to put my address on there? It's like, no, 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 you don't. It's okay. You again, we're not interested in your personal life.
Right.
We're really not.
Right. Right.
So all of, you don't have to talk about anything you don't want to talk about. And honestly, we don't want to know. There is such a thing as TMI
Yes.
on
Yes.
LinkedIn,
Yeah.
unlike Facebook and all that, where
Right.
all everything is out there. Instagram, people are putting everything out there, people in themselves in their pajamas and what they're having for breakfast in bed and all that.
Mhm.
We so are not interested in that on LinkedIn.
Right. Right. One last thing.
Yes.
I've also noticed that there are professionals that are posting their videos, actually giving information about who they are, what their business is. And I guess that's more on the entrepreneurial side
Hmm.
than anything else. But I thought that was a little different as well.
Yes.
Because as you answered that question in the beginning, they're employers. If they have a business, they're employers as well. So it's really good to spend some time and just look at various kinds of professionals and businesses or franchises or
Absolutely. And you'll see people who have, there's a frame that people put around their headshot that says hashtag open to work that job seekers use, which I recommend.
oh
But
wow.
there are also people who have a frame around their headshot that says hashtag hiring.
Hmm.
And you can search for those people by simply typing hashtag hiring
Oh
into the search
wow.
box on LinkedIn, and it'll bring those people up. So you can see what kinds of hiring they're doing. What are they looking for? So employers are there, people looking for jobs are there, people who are doing business are there. It is people are transacting business all over the place on LinkedIn. So it's
That's
not just
wonderful.
for job seekers. And I often hear people say, well, I'm not on LinkedIn. I don't have to be because I have a job. And I say, well, you have a job today. 3 weeks from
I
now,
almost shouted.
3 weeks from now, you may not.
That's right. You
So,
don't know what the future holds, so it's
none of
really
us.
good to be prepared.
Absolutely. So you need
Yeah.
to be active. You need to be on there. You need to be growing your network because anything can happen at any time
Right.
in this economy that we have. There's no
That's
loyalty,
so true.
honestly, on either side. This whole notion that our parents or my parents grew up with, where you worked for a company for 35 years
Right.
and, my mother has corporate health care for the rest of her life. Right.
Hmm.
When she turned 55, she's had a big old party because she knew an illness would not bankrupt her because she had corporate paid for health care for the rest of her days. That doesn't
Wow.
even exist anymore, right? I mean, so it's just such a totally different landscape in terms of the economy.
Right.
And
Right.
so you really need to be prepared all the time because anything can happen at any
Right.
time. And so it's really important to just sort of be engaged, be, you know, present so
Hmm.
that, God forbid it does happen,
Hmm.
you're not trying to build from scratch, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. We are preparing for people like we did a few years ago. Generations of people worked in the federal government. And when they didn't pass a budget one time, we had people in a position that they didn't expect to be in. So we are preparing just in case. We're praying that it won't happen, but being prayerful and being prepared is
Hmm.
better for
That's a
those.
good combination,
Hmm.
prayerful and
Hmm.
prepared.
And prepared. So, Dr. Barnes, so on behalf of Shabak Ministries, thank you so much again. I cannot thank you enough for spending your time and sharing your expertise. And you are helping people. You helped me. You are helping people, and we are grateful for that.
Thank
Thank you. And
Thank
thank
you.
everyone who took time out of your schedule to watch. And please continue to watch. We will have these on the last Saturday of every month for the year. And we will have people who will be sharing information, valuable information. And we were really blessed today to have Dr. Elise Barnes. So thank you so much again. Thank you all for watching and participating. Please go to smionline.org to get your questions in and your questions answered for this session. Have a great day. Thank you.